Hey nerds, welcome back to another episode of Nerd Notes. I am your host, Jason Garcia, and with me, as always, I have the Shaquille O'Neal to my Kobe Bryant, Matt Enderly.
Very appropriate.
Yes. And our guest today is our in-house SEO strategist, Steve Driscoll.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. Hey, real quick, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in SEO, and what you see kind of going on in the industry right now.
All right. Well, I've been doing SEO for the past 16 years professionally. One thing that I've noticed is that the fundamentals of SEO have become more and more important. I guess as everyone else is changing or chasing, these kind of sideways strategies or these different things, the fundamentals are more important now than anything. The second thing that I see is Google really starting to use user data and how people behave on a page with how that page ranks. So
The mic's in your face, if you could just move it down a little bit. This is all live, so.
like that?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Go ahead, sorry.
So that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So, sorry.
So what kind of SEO, I mean, just, if you could just kind of tell the audience, I mean, I think 16 years in the SEO game is probably, you're considered a vet, right?
Right.
You're a veteran.
Right.
If you could go back, 10, 15 years and you look at the SEO game, which, I was a web developer at that time, and I was not really focusing on SEO, but, it was, Google was a lot easier. It was less competitive. There were just simply less websites.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you've seen or how you would adjust your strategy today that really would not have been maybe a strategy, back then?
You used to be able to just throw links at a site. And
What do you mean by that?
The more links coming from other websites to your website, the better.
So the more backlinks.
More backlinks.
Okay.
And it was really a numbers game. And this is what Google set their patent was all about. We look at the value of backlinks, and that's what set Google apart from every other search engine, right? So when this was figured out by the SEO community, they abused it. And they said, okay, we understand that we can take even a blank page, and if we throw enough backlinks to that blank page with the correct anchor text, we could actually rank a blank page for a keyword that has nothing on it.
So like zero words.
Correct.
This was just a game.
Correct.
See if they could beat the algorithm.
Correct. Even when, for example, when George Bush, this is like 2008, he was Google bombed, quote unquote, by a bunch of bloggers with the anchor text, miserable failure. So if you Googled miserable failure, because that was the anchor text pointing to whitehouse.gov, whitehouse.gov was #1 in Google for the term miserable failure.
Wow.
Okay? So
So would that have been considered black hat back then?
yeah, but there really is no black hat, white hat. Google hates all manipulation.
Right.
Right. So
Basically, they don't want you to fake your way to the top. They want you to be authentic and do what it is because they want their visitors to get the best response.
right.
And even those backlinks, there was no credibility per se to them. It was just a matter of volume.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, since then, Google has done a lot to separate the good from the bad when it comes to backlinks. They even do a real time now with their real time Penguin update that happened a few years ago. So now, if I go out and spam a website, for example, it's going to discount the bad links that I build, and it's only going to give me credit for the good links that I build.
So it's looking at the time. Just to make sure I understand this.
Sure.
In our audience.
Mhm.
You're saying if I go out to have 100 backlinks right now, and those are just authentic backlinks,
Okay.
and all of a sudden in 1 week I've got 100,000 backlinks,
Right.
they know
Right.
you did something.
Because that's your link velocity. All right. So they're going to there are situations in the world where that would make perfect sense. If you're a news story, so if I just wrote an article about Kobe Bryant, for example, let's say it was an outrageous article about Kobe Bryant that's going to get a lot of clicks and a lot of links. You see my link velocity shoot way up. So my link is now ranking really well for this Kobe Bryant story. Right? But as the links drop off, and they drop off every bit as fast as they shot up, Google now knows that my page is less and less relevant because I'm not continuing that link velocity.
Got it.
If I went from 0 to 100,000 links in 1 week, the next week I need to have, at least 25,000 links to stay relevant?
So you're saying it's okay to have high link velocity as long as it's maintainable.
Correct.
If it dips back down, then they know. So if you're going to play the game,
Right.
you got to keep playing the game.
Correct. Correct. So in
Got
some
it.
industries, like the insurance industry, for example, so you have like Progressive, Nationwide, Geico. These guys spend hundreds of millions of dollars, and I'm not making that number up, in pay-per-click. They also have teams of SEO people.
Right.
Nationwide Insurance has 2 floors of SEO people right now in downtown Columbus, building links as fast as they can. Because in that business, if you're not building, 20,000 links a month, you're going to not be competitive.
Right.
So that's kind of expected in that industry.
So the days of buying links are over. It's all about building those links.
No, buying links is still good.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably the same argument. Do you outsource versus have it in house?
Right.
If you're going to pay enough, and it also comes down to, like we chat about, how much control do you want of how that process is getting done?
Well,
Now, is it weighted? Which should you be doing more building than buying, or 60-40, 50-50?
Well, see, Google doesn't know if you bought or built a link. They have no idea of knowing unless you are buying a link from somebody that is known to be selling links.
Okay.
Or from a link farm or from a PBN. And they can tell what a...
Can you tell us a little bit? I've been doing some research on PBN. What is that, and how does that work?
All right, a private blog network is when, let's say, I were to go out and I'm going to build a private blog network. So I'm going to build several blogs on several different websites. When I say several, it could be anywhere from 5 to 500.
These are niche blog sites.
Right. Or they're just sites that have, they're non-themed, if you can imagine. So one page may be about the Sony water. The next page may be about this new type of headphone.
All on one domain name.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
And they may have subdomain names that come off of that also.
Okay.
Because, again, Google sees subdomains that's completely different than the regular domain.
Sure.
And if they're done correctly, they're going to sit on different C-class IP addresses so that they can interlink.
So they know they're not on the same web server.
Correct.
Got it.
Right. And then you're going to use these as your pages that you would sell a link on the page, for example.
Do these pages need traffic?
They get traffic.
They get traffic, just because they're writing about relevant topics that are highly searched?
Correct.
Okay, so they're going out there, they're using Google to say what keywords are hot. They're building out all these blog pages across domain names, subdomains, whatever, on different IP blocks and different C-class IP blocks. And then they're now saying, hey, you're selling product A. You can buy my network of blogs.
Right.
This, and then you gain how many backlinks. And so, okay, I think I get it.
Right. And so Majestic, who is a third-party company, and Majestic makes software that measures web pages, for example. So they have the trust flow and citation flow, and those are their 2 main metrics.
And I think that's where our agency analytics is pulling from.
Yeah, it can.
I think it is. So our built-in software to measure, as you guys know, agency analytics, I think it partners with other data aggregators to pull that data in. So any of our clients are already getting that information in their monthly reporting.
Right.
So you had, with all this said, SEO's gotten a pretty bad name. As far as, it's that sleazy used car salesman from the 80s type thing. But you had been throwing out a stat prior to us recording about how much money SEO actually generates. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's reported to be an $80 billion worldwide industry. So SEO from America, United States, India, the whole 9 yards, $80 billion is spent, bought and sold every year on quote-unquote SEO. So that could be where...
And that's probably trending upward.
Yes.
I mean, even though I know what you're saying, on the sales side for me, I go out and meet with clients, and they're in need of, more online presence, whatever it may be. And SEO is one of the tools that we can use in order to get more brand awareness, let people know that they exist. And they're always a little bit reluctant when you say those 3 letters, SEO. They've been burnt somewhere in the past or whatever, and some of that is on themselves, is self-inflicted, because they believe that's the silver bullet that's going to solve their small business pain of lack of sales. And so it may be, and I tell people that, everything in sales in a business is like a gear, and there are multiple teeth on it. It is one tooth. Now, if you didn't know anything about bikes when you were a kid, you get one tooth off the sprocket, and guess what? Chain's off. So you need to have all the teeth in place. And I think SEO, it can be a lot cheaper. And if you look at it from a visitor, it can be a lot cheaper than paying Google AdWords, depending on your keyword. And it's something that I don't say you own it, but you get the momentum that comes with it. It's longer to build, and it's longer to take away. If you stop paying your AdWords bill, your ads are off right now. The other thing that's nice is when the visitors type in a keyword, a lot of people skip over the ads. So I think you're getting more of a qualified lead because that person is interested in who authentically ranks, who organic ranks well authentically. And so a lot of times what we see, and you see in Hemant, is people have websites, they're great companies, they have great reputation, but the site's not coded the way it's going to get indexed. And so they're losing their ability. I don't know that I'll recommend SEO to someone who's trying to gain more sales in the sense that if we rank them for those keywords, the site won't convert or whatever. But let's make sure that you're getting everything that your company already has, because like you said, to manipulate Google.
Right. And to come full circle, I think what we're saying is SEO without strategy can be a little squirrely. I mean, that's what gave it the bad name was you have, Bobby Sue and Timbuktu in their house trying to do SEO, and they're trying to cheat the system, as opposed to you who come with a strategy, you and Hemant, and then we deliver based on that strategy, or you deliver based on that strategy.
Sure. And I guess from way back in the day when I was first learning SEO, and there was very much a black hat, white hat, these two schools of thought, if you will.
And gray, right?
And gray. Now, bear in mind, Google hates it all. Okay, so just want to stay that out there. Google hates it all.
Except for white.
They hate that too.
Yeah.
All right. What they consider white hat is not going to get you to rank in any way, shape, or form ever. Okay, which is fine with them. They don't care if you rank. Right. They rather you not rank, Matt, than someone to subvert their system. If that makes any sense. Sure. Okay. All right. Now, when there were people who were really deep into the black hat, what they were doing is they were building these AdSense sites. All right. So they would build these 1,000-page sites about anything under the sun, and they would have gibberish on the pages, or a lot of this links, and then they would have their Google AdSense ads all over the pages. So the idea, the strategy was, we want to make these gobbledygook, stupid pages that the only thing that makes sense on the page is the ad.
To get you to click.
They want you to click the ad.
So they get paid.
Right, so they get paid.
Yep.
Okay. So, and everyone thinks Google is so smart and they're so sophisticated, they can weed out all this black hat bullshit, nonsense, or whatever else. Okay. Well, they can't. All right. So the only way Google figured out how to stop this was not on the algorithmic level. Their engineers didn't come up with some way they're going to stop black hat SEO. How they stopped it was they looked at people with these AdSense earnings of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month, and they yanked it. They said no.
I bet that had to hurt.
So a lot of people it did. So a lot of people got out of the black hat SEO business because it was no longer making them, rich.
The crazy money. Yeah.
Right. However, those strategies are still effective now.
What do you know?
But just not from the goal being collecting money from AdSense. Which, to our listeners that don't understand AdSense, you have AdWords, which is where you pay to put your ad out on pages, and then AdSense, which is where you own the pages and you want to put ads on it in order to gain the money. And guess who sits in the middle?
Yep.
Google.
Yep.
Right.
Now, go ahead. Sorry.
And they had a Google had a serious click fraud issue around 2006.
Explain that.
All right, let's say I'm a black hat website owner. Mm-hmm. Not only do I do black hat SEO to get my site to rank, but I also build a script that goes through my site and clicks on ads every so often.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I will build a site about, say, a mesothelioma, which is like $100 click. It's a black lung.
Yep.
Right? So this is a $100 click, and I'm going to make sure that it gets clicked probably once a day. That way I get my $50 click.
That's your minimum reserve.
Right. So,
and you're doing things like coming from different IP addresses. You're buying web servers just to get different IP addresses.
Right.
You're getting the whole thing.
Right. But
this is our timer to let us know, because you have a story I want you to tell as well, and we're running low on time.
Okay.
So,
well, let's give over to that story.
Yep.
That you want to hear.
Yep.
Which one is that?
The one about the new
what was it, a pain relief
in Florida? Yeah, pain relief clinic.
The rehab.
Yes.
Rehab.
Yes.
Rehab. So I had a client who was brand new in March, and when
a new business in March.
A new business, right?
Yeah.
So when he hired me, I said, "Hey, listen, just so you understand, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and it's what you can expect your first 90 days and your first 6 months." So after 6 months, he's ranking well. He's on the first page for Florida drug rehab, these different Florida keywords, addiction treatment, yada yada yada, and he's getting roughly 300 unique visitors to a site every month, but he was not capturing any business from it. Mm-hmm. So he said, "Hey, in order for us to continue, I've got to see some traction.
So he's upset. He had higher expectations than that.
Right, but bear in mind, you need to, first of all, SEO, the drug rehab is extremely lucrative, and because it's lucrative means it's competitive. It's competitive on, AdWords, it's competitive on SEO, on everything.
When you mean competitive, just so the audience understands, it's expensive per keyword because there's a lot of people chasing it because they're all making a lot of money off each one.
Correct.
A lot of volume.
Correct. So, and he had aspirations of being a bigger operation. So he said, I need you to come up with an idea that we're going to implement that's going to actually get us some traction and some business where we can say we made X amount of dollars return on investment from your SEO.
Sure. Now, real quick, so the 300 unique visitors a month, were any of them converting, or do you think they were more in the research stage?
Hard to say.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Okay.
Hard to say. But yeah, a lot of research and a lot of people looky-loos, if you will.
Yeah.
But no one was converting. So
Sure.
we changed up the layout of the page to be more conversion friendly.
Yep.
A lot more calls to action, et cetera, testimonials, these
Sure.
things that help.
Help influence a visitor to take action.
Right,
Yep.
right. Now, bear in mind, this guy is in Florida. Okay, here's the thing about the drug rehab business. The rehab in Florida does not really deal a lot with Florida people. They have people from New York, Alabama,
Sure.
California, all
They're
over.
always in warmer climates.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
They're always somewhere to go to get away.
Correct, correct. So what we did was we started building pages for every city in every state that he has a lot of draw from. So we started with Florida, and now we didn't have, we had a page for every city in Florida. So for Palm Beach Drug Rehab, I want to say he's on the first page for that.
So you basically built landing pages inside the site. Are these on the site nav, or are these hidden landing pages?
They're hidden landing pages.
Hidden landing pages, just for the purpose of SEO for that keyword. So you're doing more local SEO for each area that happens to be a draw for destination.
Right.
Anyone who's wanting to go to Florida for this, you're ranking. So okay.
So I would build, for New York, there's 1,400 different cities in New York. So we had 1,400 pages that we would put under the New York page. All right. So the next step is to get these indexed, and then to wait a little bit, because you can't go from having a 100-page website to having a 4,000-page website
Right.
without Google saying, okay, there's something
Yeah, you did something.
obviously here. And they hate computer-generated sites. They want handwritten sites.
And does it also go hand in hand with dynamically generated pages?
Kind of, sort of.
Depending on how it's written.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So,
So the strategy you had nationally,
right.
you were getting the 300 uniques, less conversion. You optimized the page so that it's more adds credibility.
Conversion friendly.
More conversion friendly.
Right.
And then you from an SEO strategy, you decentralize nationally and you focus more on regions.
Right.
In order to accomplish that.
Right. So now he's on the first page for. There's so many keywords that he's on the first page for. We don't even look at that anymore. His rankings are no longer a metric. We only look at how many new visitors he's getting month over month higher. So right now he just broke a record for 800 unique visitors last month. So 3 months later, he's now doubled his unique visitors, and he's getting people actually converting. So they pick up the phone and they actually.
So you hit it from two ways. You hit higher traffic through SEO by decentralizing or focusing on local areas, and then you did conversion rate optimization, which is going in, massaging the page, adding a little bit of content, and the UI UX in order to increase the conversion.
Right.
So you hit it on both sides.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. We also put even though, for example, let's say that you are in Poughkeepsie, New York, and you search for Poughkeepsie, New York drug addiction treatment. I think he's on the first page for that search as well. And that page, all these pages are roughly the same. The first thing we did was in this page was we took his Google map listing and made that front and center, all right? And our pitch is...
So you got, just because we have a lot of clients ask about that, Google Maps. You get someone who's an hour and a half away from Columbus, but they want to be on, top 3 Google Map listings for somewhere in Columbus without a physical address in Columbus.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
Right. But what you can do is you can take, what we did was we said, hey, we're not in Poughkeepsie, New York, but we have a lot of business come from Poughkeepsie, New York because of X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
Right. So,
you built a page to kind of overstep the boundary and say, hey, you're right, we're not here local, but here's why we're not local.
Right.
You don't have palm trees.
Right. And you also
In
want to
New
get
York.
away from that environment that you're in.
Yeah, I see. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So
Very cool. Well, that's one of the reasons, we bought this building. Where we're 25% on this building we're in.
okay.
And we wanted this address because it's Columbus. But it's the most North Columbus address that you can really get. Polaris, right? So, because if people type in Columbus, we want to show up that we're in Columbus. We don't want to be showing that we're in Dublin. We don't want to show that we're in Westerville. We don't want to show Worthington. We want Columbus for that very reason.
Right.
From an SEO standpoint.
Smart move.
Smart move. And a lot of our clients are out of state. And so if we say, well, we're in Dublin, they have no clue what that means. You're Dublin, Ireland? No, we're in Dublin, Ohio. Oh, well, but if we say Columbus, oh, yeah, the OSU. They understand. So there's a little more of a connection there. But yeah, okay.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you for joining us today. I know we were short on time, and but I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much.
Guys, I want to thank you for tuning into another episode of Nerd Notes. This, I believe, is episode 4. We've shot like 6 or 7, but we've had some technical issues, so we'll be circling back to those, and so expect a few to be coming out pretty quickly over the next couple weeks. And
should we do some contests? Because one of the things is, guys, we're doing Google ads on these podcasts. We're getting about 10,000 views for each episode. The comments are a little bit low, so either I'm not as ugly as you would like to comment about. You're not commenting. Maybe we should do like some giveaways, a raffle for people who comment on our videos.
Sure.
We'll figure out what that is. We'll put it in the description. But
chances are it'll be an iPad because I've just been asking for one for work.
It could be an iPad. It could be an iPad. It could be anything. So, but I want some feedback on how this can be better, guys. Some of the adjustments and some of the reasons some of the episodes didn't hit the internet is because the audio was out of sync.
Yeah.
The lighting's off.
And
X or Y.
I also want to thank the listeners. We have had a ton of people join our YouTube channel.
1,000.
Yeah, so
we got 1,000 subs.
People are liking the message that we're sending out. Let's keep it growing. Please send us topics, do whatever. If you want to be a guest, reach out to me at jason.garcia@maxtechagency.com, and we'll work out a schedule and have you on. So whether that's by phone or in person.
But make sure you bring some good substance that helps small and mid-sized businesses.
Yes, absolutely. So again, thanks for joining us on Nerd Notes, and we'll talk to you next time.
See you guys. Thanks.